Blue. I have no idea why that happened. And I'm only here for 2 years. Yeah, so it's different for me to look. I'm almost still in New Jersey. I consider it my town to live in. That amazed me.
Do it this week.
It tends to be very difficult.
What happened this time? It's the people that didn't come out and vote against it, I would think.
I got one, but I'll go on the hill.
How are you?
Good, how you doing, guys? Good to
Very
see
good,
you.
very good.
No, he was working.
It's horrible. But the fact is, someone voted him.
Cross your arms. Look at that. Cross your arms. Cross your arms.
Oh, okay. Because I was on the phone. Are you from around? So we have
Cross your arms. Cross your arms. Cross your arms.
Because they're going to try and copy or get as close as they can.
Yes, okay, everybody, I would like to say welcome to everybody. There are still more people who will be coming late, but that are coming to this presentation. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Kat Tagayev, and I just want to say welcome to my funeral. That's the reality of this situation. For a very short space of time, we had people in place to listen and help. And unfortunately, because of retirement and on-the-job assaults, we no longer have those people. Names, addresses, photos were shared with the Orange County Drug Task Force, and nothing has happened. We can watch cadets walk out of West Point down Main Street, and they know which street to turn on to get their drugs. If you want to score drugs in this village, let's face it, take a walk down to the Christiana Hotel. Take a walk up Schneider Avenue in the evening, and they'll come right out from behind the police department and ask you what you want. As well as various street corners right on Main Street and in the neighborhoods. It's at the point where there are police officers who have come and told me that they know that the drug kingpin for this village will not be taken down because of his affiliations with the chief of police. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that information, but here is my forum, and so I'm putting it out there. The same dealers have continued in this area, some of them for up to 30 years, and there's one constant with that. And so that people do not think that I am lying and telling me that I'm wrong. This is a photo. This is election day. Please tell me that you haven't seen this, and if you have seen it, that you know what it means. This is our mayor and our police chief standing on a corner with someone who was arrested for dealing drugs. This is a situation we need to deal with, and I want to thank Laura for contacting Guardian Angels so that we can get this together, get it out, acknowledge the problem, and do something about it. Laura Milsom.
I'd just like to thank everyone for coming today. The original idea for us, the Guardian Angels, to come was not mine. I wish I could take credit for it because I think it was an absolutely brilliant idea. I just took the ball and kind of ran with it with a lot of help from a lot of people. So thank you to everyone for being here. And it's my honor and privilege to welcome Curtis Lewa, who is the founder of the Guardian Angels. And I told him on the phone last night that I was actually living in the city as a 21-year-old in the 1980, when it was a really, really bad time to be in the city. And I was working the 3 to 11:30 shift at a hotel in Midtown, and I lived down on Bleecker, and so I take the subway every night at midnight alone. And the only time I ever felt safe, all those years I lived in the city, was when there was a Guardian Angel on the subway with us. So thank you, and thank you for just
Thanks for all coming together today. I want to especially thank both Ben and Sherry, who are here from our nearby Poughkeepsie chapters, and Nancy Regula, who is the head of our Animal Protection Division down in New York City, for joining me here today. Special thanks for Laura and others for reaching out, not to me directly at first. It was a different circuitous route, but to our Baltimore regional leader, Marcus Dent, who had developed our first Guardian Angel Watch program, and he began the conversations that eventually led to this meeting today and me coming up. And I know for a lot of you, those of you who are familiar with the Guardian Angels, you're wondering, well, why would the Guardian Angels be in a little town, little village like Highland Falls? And naturally, when you look at New York City, where I started the group back in 1979, major urban area, major urban problems, we now have 13 countries and 130 chapters of the Guardian Angels around the world. Many of them are large urban centers. Ben has been to our chapter in Mexico City, largest urban area in existence, 20 million people. We're in Tokyo, we're in London, obviously New York. But we're also in Bucyrus, Ohio, population 10,000. Elkingville, Pennsylvania, population 5,000. So we don't discriminate. If people in a local town, village, borough, city have a problem and they reach out to the Guardian Angels, what we're facilitating is how you can help yourselves through any of our programs, whether it's the Guardian Angel Patrol itself, the Guardian Angel Watch, or other ancillary programs that we have developed now over 38 years in operation. What started locally in New York is now a global organization, but it's all about self-help, and it's all about people coming together, recognizing they have a problem, and instead of just moaning, groaning, complaining about it, pointing fingers, taking action, scraping the barnacles off their backside, getting their rear in gear, and doing something proactively. That's what motivated me as the night manager of Mickey D's McDonald's in the Bronx in the mid-1970s, when many of you know the city of New York was falling into the abyss. It was on the brink of fiscal collapse. The mayor at that time, A. Beam, a person of no consequence, was firing police officers, firefighters, teachers, social workers. He had to pare the budget. And Ed Koch came on. He was very bellicose, but he wasn't able to deal with the crime problems. It was so severe that, especially in the Bronx, people were leaving. And now that the New York Yankees are on the cusp of another World Series, it reminds me of that poignant moment when I was behind the counter at Mickey D's, sending up a run of Big Macs. And it was 40 years ago, about this time, when Reggie Jackson took three swings in Yankee Stadium against Tommy Lasorda's Dodgers, 3 separate home runs. Yankees win in 6. Yankees win another world championship. But I'll never forget Howard Cosell, who was the announcer, who had been from the Bronx, as Reggie was hot dogging around the bases for the 3rd time. The cameras pointed up in the distance to the nearby tenements, and you could see the flames licking the roofs, because it was arson for hire back then. Nefarious landlords who were torching their buildings for the insurance, and gangbangers who were just doing it for a vicarious thrill. But you remember, the Bronx was burning down, and it was at that moment that Howard Cosell said that the owner of the Yankees, Boss Hog George Steinbrenner, was considering moving the Yankees from Yankee Stadium, the house that Ruth built, right down 161st Street in the Bronx, to the Meadowlands in New Jersey. Now, the only thing you put in the Meadowlands at that time were garbage and the bodies of dead members of organized crime. So I thought immediately, that's una disgracia, that's a shanda. How could you possibly remove the house that Ruth built and put it in the Meadowlands? So that was a motivation for me, in addition to everything else that was occurring, to start organizing those who worked for me as part of my closing crew. And we went out there and we began to patrol the subways. The first line, the most infamous, was the number 4 train, the Muggers Express. Now, we did it with a great deal of duress. I thought at first what we were doing might earn us the Congressional Medal of Honor. I couldn't have been more hopelessly wrong. The mayor at that time, Ed Koch, and the police department were inalienably opposed to us. So they actually went out and sought us out and started arresting us as we were patrolling the trains. Now remember, we were patrolling unarmed as volunteers with no special powers or privileges. We weren't pretending to be police, but just enforcing what citizens could do, on occasion making citizens arrest, physically intervening, breaking up fights and disputes, obviously chasing gangbangers off of the trains who were harassing people. They dominated the landscape at that time. And slowly but surely, we were making a difference because the statistics didn't lie. When you looked at the statistics on the other subway lines and compared it to the number 4 train, the Muggies Express, you began to see, wow, crime is dropping on the 4 train, and it continues to rise on the other lines. So it gave people an opportunity to pause and say, well, this idea might actually be working. But it didn't stop the harassment. 13 years of hell. I got locked up over 70 times in that period of time, charged with all kinds of crimes by the police, never any of it sticking. It was all about harassment, and I can't fault the police because A, they were losing their members who were being furloughed or who were being fired as a result of the fiscal cutoffs. So they were thinking, wow, this is competition. We'll never get our colleagues back. They'll never rehire them. And secondarily, they thought this was too good to be true. A group of predominantly black and Hispanics from the Bronx, youngsters, teenagers, were going to go out there for no money, risk their lives to save people and help people. They were so used to locking up young people, calling them mutts and scalps, that it was very difficult for them to make that transition. So we stood the test of time. And then in 1993, a miracle happened for New York. Everybody finally woke up, elected Rudy Giuliani the mayor. He gave the city a badly needed colonic, and he embraced the Guardian Angels. He told everybody, they are our friends. They are the best of what this city can produce. And as you know, in any paramilitary organization, which is pretty much what the police are and what the Guardian Angels are, if there's an operational order that says now you got to work with them, any of the cops who were out there to harass us stopped. Those that wanted to work with us obviously now felt they had a green light to do so. And by then, some of our own Guardian Angels had transitioned and had taken the test and were police officers themselves. So they were able to explain to their colleagues, no, hey Jack, I was a Guardian Angel. That's how I got this job. I was able to prove that I had been out in the streets. I was able to use communication skills, not just brute force. And so slowly but surely, we developed a long-standing working relationship that lasts to this day. We haven't had a problem since 1993 anywhere, not only in this country, but in the world, in terms of dealing with local officials or police. So those were the early days. That was the baptism in fire. And I remember as a kid, long before I even had the idea of the Guardian Angels, growing up in the Canarsie section of Brooklyn, actually traveling up the same Palisades Parkway that I and Nancy traveled earlier today, because my father was a merchant seaman for 46 years. He would sail cargo ships and tanker ships. And on occasion, I remember he was on the Gulf Deer, and they would transition up the Hudson River to drop their payload up at the Port of Albany. And so my mother would say to me and my 2 sisters, hey, let's get into Old Betsy, the 54 Ford station wagon with the white wall tires and the wooden sidewalls. And let's go up and visit Dad for the day, because he would be available for the day. And we came right up the Palisades Parkway, obviously passing West Point, and I think, I may be incorrect, I think I was in Highland Falls. I had my first cup of buttermilk. I got sick the rest of the way up to Albany. So I'm dairy intolerant. So my mother said, oh, you got to have this buttermilk. My sister, Alita, my older, oh, you got to have this buttermilk. I think it was here that I had buttermilk, and man, I will never forget Highland Falls for that. But other than that, obviously, my recognition factor of Highland Falls is nil. So part of the reason we're here today is to listen to all of you in terms of what you see your problems as, and whether we think from the Chinese menu of options that we have as the Guardian Angels that we might be able to come up with a remedy to help you help yourselves. Obviously, we're in a good position regionally because there's a nearby chapter in Poughkeepsie. Both Ben and Sherry will be more than available to reach out and work with you directly in terms of whatever direction you decide to go. But I think there needs to be a clear understanding that whatever the significance of the problem, and I'm certainly not going to downplay it because I've seen the very worst, and I've seen problems